Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paul's Body Engineering Podcast. It is 2026, first podcast episode of 2026, and I'm very excited. With the new year comes optimism, opportunity, excitement, the heightened energy. There's so many great things about a new year, and it's ironic, right? Because the month of January is no different to any other month of the year. The first week of January is no different to any other week of the year. It's just that we tick over into a brand new year, and there's obviously a lot of emphasis on the whole new year concept. But, like I say every single year, if you don't make changes, you're going to be straight back where you are this time next year. With no change comes no change. And, if you don't set about some new habits or some new discipline or some new routine or new tasks or new objectives, then it's not a new year, it's the same year. So it's really important that people put a big emphasis on starting the year off strong with some new goals in place. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about today is my recent holiday. And I know this is not a travel podcast, so I'm not going to be putting a lot of emphasis on the travel aspect of it. It's more about what I learned from my holiday and what I learned about myself and the opportunity I've got to implement health and wellness or health and fitness from what I learned. So, as many of you know, particularly those that closely follow, I spent 8 days in Samoa over the Christmas break. Flew over on the 23rd, came back on the 31st. It was amazing. Obviously, it was just myself and my wife, no kids. And we took the opportunity to go to Samoa, firstly because it was affordable, secondly because it was a fairly simple flight, a direct flight, but more so than that, it was because they offered a very unique experience in terms of not being in a fancy resort, not being surrounded by busyness, not being surrounded by opportunity to do heaps of travel and heaps of sightseeing. It was simply a case of going to a tropical island and downing tools for 8 days. Phone reception was minimal. We opted to stay for the first 2 nights at a very, very basic fale, which is where most Samoans live and grow up on. It's just basically a hut on the beach, and there was we had no amenities. We had to go to a communal amenities building. Our food was served in a communal area where we shared it with everybody else that was staying, as well as locals, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it because it made me appreciate just the simple things in life. It really did. But yeah, having no phone, no laptop, no TV, I didn't know what was going on in the world. Yes, I could sort of maneuver myself and get some phone reception and check in. Obviously we've got kids, so we need to be contactable. But at the same time, we didn't need to be on social media too often, other than when I had phone reception and I just did a quick dump of photos. The rest of the time, it was reading books or just communicating with my wife or just appreciating the simple things. And that's one thing I learned from this holiday, is that I actually stopped. I stopped and just looked around and looked at the beautiful scenery and embraced the culture and the people and just the positivity that was the experience I was having, more so than trying to rush through and get everything done. And my wife will attest to this. For this year in particular, or 2025, for 50 weeks of the 52-week year, I was go. I was traveling, I was working in my gym, I was working on my computer, I'm traveling and judging and traveling and coaching, and it is very much something you adapt to, you evolve with, and you don't know how to stop sometimes. You really struggle with the ability to stop, and because you're just so used to going. But I knew come December I was starting to really fatigue out. I had one foot out the door, really, because I needed a break, and I know I needed a break. And given the fact that I coach people and emphasize that as part of their health and wellness experience, I knew I needed it myself. So this came at the perfect time, and it gave me the opportunity to sort of reflect. And I barely spoke about work. We barely spoke about our jobs. It was just, we just had generalized conversations. I did a post about this not that long after I got back, because I wanted to sort of put it out there because it was fresh in my mind, but I also wanted to do this podcast. And the things I learned the most, particularly was, and this comes up a lot in conversation. People ask me, I'm going away, how do I manage my food? What do I do? And for me, I already knew this going in. It's okay to be relaxed around food. You just don't eat like a dickhead, and that's the biggest difference. it's okay to have a relaxed meal. It's okay to have several relaxed meals. I was away for 8 days. I didn't eat, I didn't track anything, I didn't weigh anything, I didn't go to the gym, and I drank alcohol nearly every day. And I was okay with that. And guess what? I came back only 2 kilos up, and I got straight back into routine. Because those 8 days out of 365 are not going to be the detriment of my downfall in terms of losing my health and fitness. What set me up for success was the 12 years prior, where I have been very, very consistent, probably 80% consistent for 12 years. I've weight trained probably on average 4.5 days out of 7 for 12 years, and that muscle mass that I've built, that mature muscle mass that I've got, has been the reason why I've sustained no weight gain or very little weight gain over the 8 days that I was away. So I knew I was in a good position. So that was lesson one. It's okay to be relaxed around food when you're on holidays. It's not a problem. I prioritized my protein, but it was also great to go back to basics. Like in the first 2 days when we were at the Farleys, where everything was basic, it was traditional. Our meals were really, really simple. Breakfast was toast and porridge and fruit and oats. That was it. That was our breakfast every single day. And then for dinner, it was a combination of beef and fish. They might serve a pasta dish. They might serve a noodle dish. They'll serve up some vegetables. Like, it was really, really basic, but it was so refreshing to have such a basic meal served for us. That was awesome. But yeah, disconnecting from your usual routine can provide a heightened sense of energy, because if we're constantly on, right, you just drain that battery. You don't have an opportunity to stop. Even when you get home, you're constantly on. And this goes double for those that run a business. And I know those listening that run a business can attest to this, because I can obviously empathize with the situation. You're constantly on. It's 7 days a week. Unfortunately, that is the objective of a business, is you've got to keep going, because you've got to keep progressing. You've got to keep making money. You've got to keep providing for your family. So it is 7 days a week without fail. So having that break it's almost mandatory, really, I believe. And my wife and I spoke about having more opportunity to take more breaks throughout the year. And you don't need a lengthy holiday to do that. You can have a long weekend. You can have a staycation. Hell, you can stay at home and just disconnect the internet, disconnect the phone if you wanted to. You can, drive 20 minutes down the road to the nearest hotel or resort and just stay there and have a staycation. You can go camping. You can go one night away. You can just go for a day trip somewhere and disconnect. Like, there's so many ways to do it, and I think that is something that we need to do more often, not only as a society, but as for myself as well. Not training for a week. Now, a lot of people are fearful of not training because they think they're going to lose all their gains, they're going to put on all this weight. You won't lose anything. Honestly, if you've been a regular trainer for a regular period of time with consistency, yes, I use that word, then having a week off is not going to be a detriment to you. Far from it. Like, I came back, I got straight back into it. I got, I think 4 sessions in the first week back, and I felt great because of it. Did I pull up sore? Yeah, absolutely, because I had 8 days off. Absolutely. But I didn't miss a beat, and I loved it. I loved getting back to the gym because I love that feeling. It's okay to stop, and this is primarily directed at business owners. It's okay to stop. It's okay to put down tools. It's okay to not think about work for 5 minutes, and in this case 8 days. That's what I learned the most. It's okay to stop. You don't have to worry about where the next revenue stream is coming from, or where the next client is coming from. I've worked tirelessly for 12 years to set my business up to enable myself to have a couple of weeks off, and that's exactly what I did, and it was well deserved because I needed the rest. And if you think about it, like, I talk a lot about clients, to my clients, about ensuring that they give the best of themselves to their family, to their job, to themselves, and they prioritize their health and fitness. And I need to live by example in regards to that as well. And the only way to turn up for my clients is to make sure I am on 100% of the time. If I'm fatigued, if I'm sick, if I'm lethargic, if I'm ill, if I'm weak, if I'm not looking after myself, well, guess what? I can't give 100% of myself to my clients, or to my family for that matter. So it is really important that you learn to stop and be okay with stopping. Alcohol. Common question I get asked: can I have a few drinks while I'm away? Can I have a few drinks at this dinner on the weekend? The short answer is yes. At the end of the day, you're an adult. You make these decisions, and you should be okay with these decisions and not sit on the fence about it. Did I have a few drinks while I was away? Absolutely. You're damn right I did. I had a few cocktails. I had a few local beers. I always try local beer when I'm in a new country. That is like one of the things I like to do. It's not a bad thing at all. You've just got to learn to know when to stop. And this is the biggest difference when going on holiday and drinking stupid and eating stupid, or going on holiday and enjoying a drink. Like, we enjoyed a cocktail while watching a sunset. It was just the thing we did every single day because the sunset over there was beautiful. It is the best sunset I've ever seen, and I've traveled everywhere. I've been to the Greek islands, I've been to Egypt, I've been across the Mediterranean, I've been to the States, to Europe, to India. This by far was the best sunset I've ever witnessed. So, to take full advantage of that, we had a cocktail while the sun was going down, and it was beautiful. There was live music playing. It was just a serene experience, and one I wanted to take full advantage of. So, there's no harm in having a drink while you're on holidays. If the time is right and it suits the mood, go for it. I think, one thing I really took full advantage of was being present and actually appreciating and absorbing the scenery I was in, but also just the moments, the sights I was seeing, the beaches, the water, just the pristine environment. I'm 47. I'm 48 this year. I'm only a couple of years from 50. I'm well past my middle age. Like, middle age at the moment now is 38, believe it or not. So I'm well past that. So I wanted to stop. I wanted to take in moments. I wanted to take those visual photography moments that I could remember. And I did that. Rather than it being rush, go, let's see this, let's see that. And I know that's how I've been in previous holidays. We still went and saw some sights, but it was minimal. And I really appreciate the fact that my wife was so patient with me over the first couple of days as I unwound. But also, I made a conscious effort to just sit and look and sit and be present and sit and take in music and sounds and the culture that was and the scenery that was. That was really important, and I'm so glad that I did that, because now I've got these vivid memories of what Samoa was like. And when people ask me, how was it? I tell them the truth. I don't embellish, or I don't overemphasize. I say it was amazing because it was. Many of you that have listened to all my podcasts would remember the story I told from my 2019 holiday. So every second year, my wife and I would go away for Christmas because we didn't have our kids. 2019, we went to Port Douglas, and unfortunately, I had run myself into the ground and burnt myself out that I was hospitalised for the entire time we were away. It was a terrible experience for me, more so for my wife, because she just had to sit by my bed every single day in a country hospital and do nothing. So it was a shit experience, and I made a conscious effort to myself that I wouldn't do that again, because I had reached my limit, and I'd worked too hard. I'd sacrifice sleep, I'd sacrifice my nutrition, simply to make money, and I won't do that again. And that is a lesson I learned every single holiday. I make sure I'm in a really good space. I make sure I'm prioritizing sleep. And, granted, I will work harder in certain instances, but as I edged to the holiday, I made sure that my health was in check and I was running on all cylinders to make sure that I could enjoy it. I spoke before about muscle and the fact that it's why my weight gain was minimal, and it is. The more muscle you have, the more food you can consume, the more alcohol you can consume. And that's not an endorsement to go, put on a heap of muscle and then go to town on booze and food. It's more about the fact that if you consistently train with weights and improve your physique in terms of lean tissue, you can open up the door to more opportunity of being flexible when you're on holiday when it comes to food and drink. It's as simple as that. I know a lot of people are fearful of weight training for a number of different reasons, but it can't be scary for you. And this is a great opportunity to step into that uncomfortable space of weight training, particularly at the start of this new year. Make that your venture, make that your goal, and learn that it is such a good thing for you from so many perspectives. And I've spoken about this to the ends of the earth before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail in terms of the benefits of weight training, but just know that if you've got more muscle on your frame, and that doesn't mean you're going to get massive and big and all this sort of thing, but just mature muscle, you can consume more food. You can consume more alcohol. You can get away with a few more things and be a little bit more flexible when it comes to holidays because of that fact. And then you dive straight back into it again, and it becomes part of the week, just like waking up or making the bed is part of your week. It is training, and it is weight training, and it is quality weight training. There's a big difference between turning up and lifting some weights and turning up and training with intent. But I just wanted to speak briefly about the holiday. It's not necessarily a travel podcast per se, but it's good to sort of mix the two because they are relevant at the end of the day. Holidays are important. Breaks from your normal regime. You know, if you have a very hectic schedule where you're working 5 days, you're a parent, you're on the go, weekends, you're running kids around, like, you will burn out, you will get fatigued. And so many people I spoke to in December said they were just feeling the pinch. They were burning out. They were running on empty, and they couldn't prioritize themselves. They couldn't get to the gym because they had so much on. So holidays are an essential part of managing your year and getting through what is a crazy period of life. You know, we know that our life is busy. We know it's hectic. We know we're time poor. So you need to prioritize these simple holidays. And as I said, they don't have to be fancy. You don't have to go to a lavish resort. Like, we saved for a year to pay for Samoa, and we used a lot of Qantas points. Like, I'm a massive points pursuer. I don't know if that's a term, but I go to the ends of the earth to maneuver ways to earn more points because, you know, look, I'm paying for bills anyway. I'm buying groceries. I'm paying for petrol, all these sorts of things. So I make it worth my while by ensuring that I'm earning points while I go. And again, I'm not going to go into the finer details of that. If someone wants to message me directly and ask how I do it, great. Fire away. I'll be happy to tell you. But I make it worth my while. So, you know, that way I can put money aside. You know, you open up an account that's unattached to your everyday accounts in terms of a bank account, and you just transfer a certain amount each week into that account. You don't check it, you just forget about it. Automatic transfer set up, and then, you know, check it after 3 months and be like, whoa, we've got $500. Great. That goes towards the holiday. You know, it's amazing when you don't have the money available to spend, you don't spend it. So it's a good way to look at things. So I think that's all I really want to cover in this podcast, and it's a great way to start the new year. Now, plenty of you who are listening to this, and I do get a lot of listens, would be wanting to start the year in a good space. They'd be wanting to start the year. You've got good intentions, you've got goals, but you don't know how to start. Or you've got goals, but you don't know how to meet them. Or you've got goals, but you need more accountability because you've had this same position every January for the last 5 years and you're still in the same position. So maybe you need to invest in yourself. Maybe you need to reach out to someone for help. Maybe you need to try something new. Get a little bit uncomfortable. You know, get a training buddy, get to the gym, join a gym, whatever it looks like. And if you need some help, or if you just want to have a chat, you know, I'm not a big scary dude. I'm happy to have a friendly chat with you. No obligation, no expectation. If you just need some insight into what's a better approach, ask me a question. I'm more than happy to answer it. So look, but if you wanted to investigate my coaching services just that little bit more, jump on my website, send me a DM on my Instagram, and in the links there's plenty of information there as well. Obviously I cover a lot in a lot of these podcasts. If you've enjoyed it, please share it to somebody else who might not be aware of it, but may get some new information that they could benefit from out of it. So I appreciate all the listens, I appreciate all the shares, and I certainly appreciate all the feedback. So once again, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this year turns out to be the best year yet for you. I really do. So, as I say to every client, and I'm going to change this, and I open I open it up to anyone because I sign off the same way, and I have done so for 200 plus episodes now, and that is, as I say to every client every single day, have a great day. I want to do a new one. I want to do a new sign up, but I want to hear what you think. What is there anything that I should say better? Is there a great sign off that you've heard, and I should do my own version of it? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, with that being said, I will sign off as per normal. Thank you once again. As I say to every client every single day, have a great day.